Yo guys! It's your friend here, bringing you another awesome Naruto What If tale. What if Naruto was in the DC universe and had a harem? Now before we start, let's do a summary first. Transported to a world full of heroes, Naruto teams up with the greatest to stop an invasion based on the 2001 to 2004 and D 2004 to 2006 shows Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. Naruto X Harem story name is Nin on the League. Disclaimer: Lone Wolf 1 is the author of this series. 1 just made the audio adaptation of it, and yeah, I have the permission of the author. Remember to like, subscribe after this video, and make sure to share it with your friends. Now let's music begin. Chapter 1 Secret Origins. Nighttime, Wayne Tech Metropolis Substation. 2 men were running at the top of a science lab. One was in a gray suit with a black bat logo, a mask with long ears, a cape, gloves, boots, small tights, and a yellow belt. The OT. Her was 6 feet, wearing a black shirt, cargo pants, combat boots, black fingerless gloves, and a short-sleeved trench coat with a hood that covered the top half of his face. One opening event, they dropped down onto a beam, seeing 4 scientists, 3 males and 1 female. You're all coming to my party, rig. One male scientist with glasses and short blonde hair asked the other 3. One, a balding gray-haired man, nodded, smiling, as the other one with short black hair smirked. Of course, wouldn't miss it. The only female with dark skin and long hair kept silent while typing on a computer. The blonde scientist left and the other 3 glanced at each other. The balding scientist stood up and spoke in an alien language as the other 2 walked up with him to the back wall with huge computers covering it. The black-haired male picked up the computer, causing the 2 up on the beam to widen their eyes at his strength. The woman punched the wall, revealing a black alien-looking device with a few red glowing sections on it. Up on the satellite, the scientist put the device on top and it dissolved into it. I doubt that's legal. Turning round, the scientist saw the 2 men. It looks like another alien bomb, like the ones have been finding Batman, the one with the hood said to the now identified Batman before pulling out a strang-looking knife with 3 blades and threw it past the scientist to where the bomb went in. Batman threw a bullet around the 2 male scientists as the hooded man disappeared in a black flash. 2 He reappeared beside the knife and looked for the bomb as Batman fought the scientist, and the 2 males became thinner to get out of the bull as Batman threw a batang at the female only for it to bounce off her Renan spiraling sphere. The hooded man hit the balding scientist with a blue ball that formed in his hand, but the attack didn't do anything but push him back a few inches. The man jumped over the scientist, dodging an attack from the female landing beside Batman. Remind me again why I agreed to help you. Before Batman could reply, they heard a voice from behind them: need a hand? Turning around, they saw a muscular man with black hair in a blue spandex suit with a red cape, boots and small tights, with a yellow belt and shield with a red S on his chest. No thanks, we fine, Batman quickly said, running towards the scientists. We could use your X-ray to find what I believe to be a bow they placed in the satellite. Superman's eyes widened and started flying over, but grabbed his head, screamed in pain, and fell on one of the supports. Crap, the man cursed, picking Superman up, and saw the balding scientist pull out a small device and push a button. All 3 men jumped off the building and slid down a hill as it exploded. Damn, that hurt, the hooded man said, holding his head as Batman looked at the fire. What happened? Superman asked, holding his head. Batman looked over at him after seeing the scientist leave through the woods. You 2 all right? The hooded man asked, walking over. I take your cage, the new hero that popped up last year? 3 Superman asked before using his X-ray, and his eyes widened. Naruto? He asked as Naruto removed his hood, revealing it. Teen with spiky blonde hair with 2 bangs framing his face, blue eyes and 3 whisker marks on each of his cheeks. How do I? Oh, you know him? Batman asked as Superman turned to him. He's dating my cousin. Narc eyes widened at that. What, the only cousin I know of? Car, as that's your age? As Nar stopped, imagining glasses on Superman. Clark, how do glasses hide your identity? Regular glasses. Of that. Before Naruto could ask more questions, Batman interrupted. Never mind, what happened back there? He asked Superman, who turned to him confused. I don't know, I just saw images that were so intense, that's all I can remember. All 3 turned around to the burning building. Looks like they were destroying evidence, Thatman commented as Naruto nodded. Yeah, maybe those images of yours are related to them, Naruto said to Superman, who turned to Batman. What's this all about? Batman turned back to him and explained, I found breaches in our deep space globule monitor network, and Naruto here has found alien tech in a few key places around the state. Super Man's eyes widened, and no one's claimed responsibility. Naruto raised an eyebrow. I guess no one wants the blame for it, or we have moles. Superman nodded before turning around. I'd love to stay and help, but I'm needed back in Metropolis, he said, reaching for his belt. Another key to the city? Batman asked. As Superman pulled out a watch from his belt and gave it to Batman. It's a communicator. If you need me, he said before turning back to Naruto, who raised an eyebrow. Well, I am your parents' neighbor. I can just tell Kara if I want to get a hold of you. Since she's your cousin, I guess I don't have to worry about her finding out about me now, Naruto explained as Superman flew away. Seriously, how do glasses hide his identity? Lois Lane should be able to tell it's him. She works with him and gets saved by him so much it's not funny, Naruto complained, looking back only to find that Batman and was gone. Got to give it to him. I'm a real shinobi, and he got away without me seeing him. Moving his hood back up, Naruto focused for a moment before disappearing in a flash. Morning, Smallville, Kansas. Naruto, wearing blue jeans and a red shirt, was driving a black Dodge Charger down the small road. He pulled into a drive-through with a sign that read Kent Farm at the entrance and came up to a two-story house with a barn beside it. Getting out, he saw an old man working on a tractor. Morning, Naruto, he greeted as Naruto waved. Morning, John. Kara here, he asked as John Kent nodded. Yeah, she's inside eating. Nodding, Naruto walked in sighed and saw an elderly woman putting a plate in the sink. A girl around 5'8" with blonde hair that went past her shoulders and blue eyes, wearing a blue skirt and shirt, drinking orange juice with an empty plate in front of her, watching Superman on television at the UN. Morning, Naruto, the woman greeted Ted as the girl quickly got up, ran over and kissed him. Morning, Martha. Carrara, he greeted, wrapping an arm around Carrara. What are you doing here this early? Martha asked as the news went to a man in a red costume with yellow lightning bolts on his head, arms, waist, and a lightning logo in front of his chest. I'm the fastest man alive. The man ran around the reporter in a flash, but even I can't be in 5 places at once. Naruto looked up from the TV. I'm here to take Kara from you for bed. Nodding, Carrara got in his car and left. So what are we doing? Kara asked Naruto, who kept his eyes on the road. As he replied, we're going to my house for a bit. Kara smirked and crossed her arms. For a makeout session, she asked as Naruto smirked himself. Maybe if we have time. A few miles down the road they pulled up to Naruto's house, a small 2-story house with a front and back porch, both screened up with a few chairs and a swing on each, with and a few trees in the yard. As Naruto got out, he was talked by a black blur. Hey, Hunter. Naruto greeted the adult black wolf that was licking his face. Pushing him off, Hunter jumped up to Kara and licked her face. Going inside, Naruto brought her to the office room filled with books and a desk. What did you want to talk about? Kara asked as Naruto walked up to a bookshelf. That Clark is Superman. Are you Supergirl? Eyes wing. Karo tried lying. What? No. What are you tall? She stopped, seeing Naruto lift a book off, and the book self fell onto the floor, revealing a room with a couple of monitors, the weapons including weird-looking knives. Carol walked in and saw 2 costumes, one full black with shirt, pants and short-sleeved trench coat with a hood, and the other has a Kevlar vest, black cargo pants and a red trench coat with a hood with black flames on the bottom and the leaves. I was helping Batman out last night and ran into Superman. He used his X-ray to see my face. I still think he uses that for other reasons. Kara finally looked at him. Your cage. Why didn't you tell me? She asked, yelled as her eyes glowed red. For a moment. That answers my question. If she's Supergirl, better make sure not to forget her birthday now, Naruto thought, sweating a little. The whole bad guys coming after loved one. I didn't know you were Supergirl, Naruto replied before explaining about his past. So after beating M, you were suddenly teleported here with the technique you used after Naruto? No. Deed, she smiled. Okay, I guess this is like when Clark told me about Lois going to a world where he teamed up with Lex. For yeah, I can still talk to them and all, with summoning toads to send letters, but we haven't found a way back yet. Nodding, Kara walked over to him. What about Kurama? Naruto smiled and Continued, I can use a little of his chakra and I'm able to summon him also if things get too bad. 5. Taking a look around, Kara looked at the desk with the monitors and saw a pair of sunglasses hooked up to them. What's this? She asked, picking them up, put them on and hit the button on the right side. Kara unplugged them, put them on and pressed the button. Suddenly everything took a blue tint and an information box came up. When she looked at Naruto, showing his heartbeat and pulse. Wow. Naruto smiled and started to explain. I had Batman help with that. He calls it detective vision. Hold the button down. And while looking at me doing so, the glasses zoomed in and a circle started scanning Naruto. After a moment, a box with his information came up. This is amazing. Naruto walked up to her and continued explaining. It can show me if an enemy has a gun, scan a crime scene to highlight points of interest, and have holograms act out theoretical scenarios of the crime to see if there's anything I missed when I rewind or pause. It also has night vision. 6. Naruto letting her go pulled out a box beside the desk. He opened it, showing a black bow handle with a laser sight, a red button on the inside of the handle, and a few buttons on the outside. 7. Hitting one of the buttons, the handle unfolded into a recurved bow. I thought you used jutsu, Kara asked as Naruto picked up a black quiver and hit the red button. I do, but I'll use this for stealth because I'll use smoke bombs, flash bangs, sleep gas, and my Haitian fly. Thunder God, the mood that I used to teleport. The bottom part of the quiver moved around for a second. I'm also using it for when I face villains that you and Clark have a hard time to beat, so I'll have an edge. I also have some trick arrows that Green Arrow uses too. Kara raised an eyebrow as she Oot the glasses back. The aliens we fought last night took a Renin spiraling sphere like it was nothing, and it's one of my strongest attacks. Naruto walked out with Kara following. I have a bad feeling something's going to happen, so he should be ready, he said, leading them to the living room with a couch, a few chairs, and a flat screen. How are you paying for this? I know you help out on the farm, but you must have another job. Naruto smiled as he sat down with Kara sitting on his lap. Well, I write books mainly of my time and others in my world, and I'm thinking of working for the Daily Planet as a photo gr. APHRER. Carol leaned against him as he talked with Hunter, walking in and lay down on the floor. Well, I better get going, she said, getting up and walking to the door. Need me to drive you home? Shaking her head, she leaned up and kissed him. No, I'll just fly back since I don't have to hide it from you, she replied before floating up and leaving. Naruto took his bow quiver and walked out to practice. Wonder why Shinobi didn't use the bow a lot. It's awesome. Pressing the red button, the bottom part of the quiver moved around before he picked up a black arrow with a silver tip and fired it at a target that popped up out of the ground. Thanks, Oliver. KN warehouse. Naruto in his black costume jumped in front of a warehouse right before Batman. Clue to that scientist lead you here? He asked as Batman nodded. Yeah, I got an alien signal coming from here. As they walked in, Batman noticed Naruto's bow and arrow trying to be like Green Arrow. Naruto snorted at that. No, he wishes he could be as awesome as me. While I use trick arrows, also I use my ninja techniques like my explosive tag, flashbangs, smoke bombs, sleeping gas, and Haitian flying thunder. Godot, that move makes me teleport. It's also if I ever fight villains that Superman has a hard time defeating. Since I live close to Metropolis, that alien we fought took one of my strongest attacks like it was nothing, so I want to have something that'll stop them and give me an edge, Naruto explained before walking over to a table and saw the detonator the scientist used. Naruto pressed and held the button to scan it. Nothing in the database about it, Naruto replied before turning his vision off. Hearing the door open, Naruto pulled his bow out and unfolded it but left the laser off. Looking to the bottom floor, they saw the balding female scientist walk out of a small room and leave. Dropping down, Batman pulled a flashlight out and looked around before landing on the wall. Oh my Kami, Naruto said, seeing 3 pods with the 3 scientists in them. Batman pulled a knife out before cutting the balding one out. And who else have they replaced? Naruto asked before Ring growling. Turning around, they saw a brown dog walk up to the door growling at them. Easy there, boy, Naruto said, but the dog jumped at him. Batman kicked the dog away before he and Naruto jumped up to the rafters. The dog started walking up the wall and changed into a white see-through alien, of course. Naruto said, jumping down before pulling out an arrow and shooting it at the dog. It exploded in a white substance covering the dog before hardening. Damn, what else can go wrong? Naruto asked before they heard cracking and the dog broke out with Superman. Clark was in the restroom washing his face before hearing a beeping. Quickly changing, he flew before coming to a warehouse and looked around before finding an unconscious Batman under a bookshelf and Naruto against the wall. Nar got up from the wall and looked around. That's right, you better run, you mud. Walking over, he picked up and folded his bow before turning to Superman, who got Batman up from the floor before anything else could be said. Light came through the windows and they saw a meteor fly past. Go on, I'll catch up, Naruto said. His Superman nodded and flew off with Batman. Naruto picked up his cell phone and dialed a number. Hey babe, can you come pick me up? I have the feeling we'll need everyone we can get in a moment. Kara came flying in her outfit. She's wearing a white shirt with Superman's logo on it that shows her midriff, white gloves, a red cape, boots, and a blue skirt. Need a lift? She asked, picking him up and flying after Superman. When they got there, they saw Superman get hit with a laser by a tall white red spots design alien. The police that surrounded the area took shots at it, but their bullets bounced off. Naruto shot an arrow down where Superman fell and a white substance came out and cushioned his fall. You can drop me and help out, Naruto said as Kara nodded, dropped him onto a roof and flew to the alien with Superman following. Both punched it, sending it into a building. It shot another laser, sending them through a building and landing in another. All looking down, Naruto saw a black harem with a notepad about to be hit by a broken piece of the building. Naruto shot another arrow, blowing up the piece, and he landed beside her. Your Lois Lane, right? He asked as she nodded. And your Naruto smiled at her. I'm Cage. Lois' eyes widened. You're the new hero, how about an interview? Sweat dropping, Naruto replied, I'll give one aft. We deal with this. He pointed to the alien that was still shooting lasers at everyone. How would I get a hold of you? Naruto smirked before putting his fingers in a cross shape. I'll ask Superman, since he saves you daily. Tajik Cage bunch and no jutsu, multi-shadow clone jutsu. A bunch of Naruto's poofed around them and Naruto ordered them to help evacuate. Hearing a jet, Naruto looked up and saw a bat-shaped jet flying above, attacking the alien. What the is he, a billionaire or something? He asked before a clone yelled out from a roof, hey boss, there's two more of them. Naruto cursed, damn it, one took a beat from the two strongest people on the planet and sw'd them like flies. Naruto said. His more jets flew in and shot missiles at the first cage. Turning around, Naruto saw Kara float down. Superman flew off somewhere with Batman following, she explained as Naruto looked around. Then let's follow. I have NES teleporting people out of the city army base outside Metropolis. Wow, wonder why Superman did that, Naruto asked, seeing the damaged tanks as he had a radio frequency play over his glasses earpiece. And we're getting reports of more landing around the world, and thanks to CJ, new hero who teleported Opal out of the city, there aren't a lot of casualties. Turning it off, he and Carol landed beside Batman, who was walking in a hole in the wall. Any idea why he's doing this? Naruto asked as they walked in. On Batman simply said, pushing an open door. Oh my god, Kara exclaimed, seeing the room filled with Opal in pods. Naruto pushed the button on his glasses. They're alive, barely. Naruto stopped as he started scanning one. This is the general station here, he exclaimed as the information came up on his lenses. Hearing pounding, they walked out of the room to see Superman pounding on a steel door, throwing a batang. Batman spoke up, destroying government property isn't your style. What's going on? Looking back, Superman gestured at the door. See for yourself, throwing the door away. The walk down the hall and through another door. What the? Naruto asked, seeing a green alien chained up in the middle of the room. What is it? Batman asked as Superman broke a console, freeing the alien. Earth's only hope, Superman replied, catching him. He's been reaching out to me telepathically, but the stasis field interfered, and when it broke through, I came to rescue him. Kara walked up at that. Why is he here? She asked as the alley looked up. The invasion. Batman, Naruto and Kara winced a little at the telepathic voice from the alien. I came here to warn you, but was captured and imprisoned here, the alien explained as Batman raised an eyebrow. Big surprise, he replied, gesturing to his appearance. I sense you don't trust me. Perhaps His will help, the alien said before shifting into a more human shape with a blue cape with a high collar, boots, tights with a red belt and two red straps crossing his chest. Best in an X, he walked over to Batman and held out his hand. I'm Gene. Gene introduced himself as Batman and just stared. Do NT take it personally, Gene. He doesn't trust anyone, Superman said, getting in between them. A wise policy, Gene said before they started walking out of the building only to be blinded by lights. Hold it, Superman, an army soldier said as they aimed their weapons at them. Superman got in front of the group. Hold it, General. He stopped when Naruto shot an arrow at the general. The general's in a pod inside a room, Naruto said, pointing back as the army turned into white and black aliens with three red dots running vertically down on their faces. They picked up guns and shot laser beams at them, hitting Superman into a tank. Naruto threw a smoke pellet in front of them as Batman picked a batang with a blinking light on it. An alien came up behind them. Look out, Jan yelled, going through Batman and creating a blue aura around him, protecting Batman from a blast. Naruto shot an arrow at the alien, causing it to be cased in ice. Batman threw his batang at another group, causing an explosion. Superman and Kara jumped in front of them holding tanks. Get him out of here, we'll distract them. Batman and Naruto carried Johan in the jet and Batman got in the cockpit. I'll hold on to the way, think of it like Spider-Man. Naruto said the soles of his boots glowed blue. He got on the right wing as they started floating up. Gene opened his eyes and they flashed yellow for a second. Superman and Karo through the tanks before flying after the others. Are we good? Batman asked as Jan shook his head and looked to his left. No, a bunch of triangle ships started flying after them. Superman and Kara attacked the ship, destroying a few. I got this one, Naruto said as a ship flew up beside them. He shot an arrow with a piece of paper attached to it in front of them. The arrow arched back and hit the ship, causing an explosion. Another one show the left wing of the jet off and they started falling until a green ball of energy formed around them. Green Lantern, Naruto asked. Seen a man with dark skin, short hair with the sides buzzed and green eyes. He's in a black suit with green boots, gloves and chest shoulders with a lantern logo on his He's holding out his right fist with the green energy coming from a rain. A woman flew past him with light brown hair, wings, a hawk helmet, a yellow shirt and tight black pants with red trunks, holding a mace with electricity forming around it. She attacked two ships, blowing them up. Hawk Girl, what's she doing here? Batman asked as Gene went out and attacked the ships. Green Lantern set the jet down and Naruto and Batman watched the other make short work of the ships. Hawk Girl gets hit and falls to a ledge with another woman flying down. Allow me. The woman has black hair reaching mid-back, wearing a golden tiara with a red star on the front. She also has silver star earrings, an armed protector, a red top with two W's at the top, blue trunks with a white star pattern, a golden lasso and red silver trimmed boots. The woman blocked the blast with her armed guard, sending them back to the ship. Green Lantern created a shield around them as pieces fell. Who's the rookie in the tiara? he asked as Superman threw a ship down. I don't know, no, he replied as they flew down. You okay? Kara asked Naruto, who put his bow on his back. Yes dear, he replied jokingly before she punched him in the shoulder. A man in a red suit dashed over holding Batman's Wayne. Hey Tat, you dropped this. The others floated down and he looked at the black-haired woman. Whoa, where have you been all my life? he asked as she blinked at him. The Misha, she replied, causing the man to blink. What? Naruto snorted before speaking. It's an island of Amazon women. Flash, Naruto replied before feeling a heated glare. And how do you know an island with only women on it? Sweaty, Naruto turned to his girlfriend. I've read up on it, the internet's a wonderful thing. I am Diana, princess of the Misr. Diana introduced herself. Pinch me, I must be dreaming. Flash's aide before Superman roughly elbowed him. Gene went on to explain that the aliens invaded his home and stopped them with NER gas, with him being the only survivor until the astronauts woke them up. 8. They've sent agents to weaken Earth's defensive. Naruto's eyes widened at that, like getting rid of our nuclear missiles. I think it's a big coincidence that we got invaded as soon as we got rid of them. Suddenly he heard something on his earpiece. Turning to Batman, he spoke up. Do you have a small projector to hook up to my glasses? he asked, removing his hood. Nodding, Batman took out a small projector. Naruto To remove his glasses, plugged the projector into them and aimed the projector at the ground news report. Metropolis Live. This is Snapper Car from Ground Zero in Metropolis, where the alien walkers continued to clear the impact site. On male reporter with short brown hair said as the army roped off the area. Snapper turned to a balding gray-haired man with dark skin in a general uniform. General Wells' army seems to be unable to stop them. Why? General Wells shook his head. Because our big missiles have been disarmed and our protector Superman has abandoned us. He walked away as Snapper turned to the cam. Earlier Senator Carter had this to say. They went to a press conference with a man in a black suit, blue tie and short brown hair. When I first proposed my peace plan, no one expected an invasion like this, Carter explained to the reporters. Now we must rise and resist this invasion, he finished. As the why went back to Napper Car, we have a breaking development. He turned to the meteor that started cracking before 3 tentacles came out. Everyone gasped as it transformed into a big machine that started drilling into the ground, producing smoke that started covering the sky. And Naruto unplugged the projector and put his glasses back on. It's begun, Jean said, looking towards the city and seeing the smoke. What are they doing? Hawk Girl asked as Jean explained. They're nocturnal, they're blocking out the sun. Naruto raised an eyebrow at him. You mean the sun's their weakness? Are they related to the War of He World's aliens where they died from the common cold? Flash walked up to Jean. Can you make any more of that gas? Jean shook his head. No, the only way to make it is from a rare Martian plant, and the only sample I brought was destroyed when I was captured. Diana puts her hands on her hips. Then we take those factories. Green Lantern scoffed. Lady, this is no job for amateurs. Diana started bickering with him until Naruto got between them. Okay G, we need all the help we can get, and she's proved herself just now saving Hawk Girl's ass, and besides, without that rain you're pretty much powerless, so don't G et al. High and mighty, Naruto said before holding his ring up, making his suit disappear. Naruto threw his ring back and walked over to the others. Okay, let's split up and get to each one. Flash ran up to Diana and wrapped in armor around her shoulders. I call the Amazon. Diana just looked back at the later Batman. Naruto, who's scanning the factory with his glasses. Karara and Diana are hiding behind some rubble. Hidings for cowards. Why not fight? Diana asked before Jean faced up from the ground. I cannot find an entrance. Diana looked at the alien walker. Then we'll make one. She flew past Naruto and Karara. Naruto let go of his glasses and turned to Karara. Want to go help? Cared just flew over and helped Diana push the walker into the factory, creating a hole that works. Naruto said, running up into the hole with the other. Seeing the aliens run off, they're running away, Diana exclaimed as Batman looked up to the sun as the clouds were still forming. Jan paused for a moment. Superman and Hawk Girl failed. Everyone turned to him. Are you sure? Diana asked him, getting a nod in return. Getting past some aliens, they came up to a room with a gem behind an orange shield. Attacking the alien, JN phased to get he gem out but was shocked by an alien. Naruto shot an arrow at him, causing ice to form. Diana floated down to Jean. Let's go, Batman ordered as everyone rushed to the door. Naruto seen it close behind Diana, who's carrying Jean, and Kara yelled out, Supergirl. Turning around, Kara caught the gem just as door closed, leaving Naruto and Batman behind. Naruto, Kara screamed, dropping the gem, and ran to the door only for the door to distort from laser blasts. No, Kara tried punching it only for Jean to stop her. It's no use. Diana looked at him. You mean they're nodding? They left with Kara picking up the gem. As tears fell from her eyes. Later everyone met on top of a building. Well, Flash asked as Jean spoke up, we've managed to get the gem from ours, and Superman and Hawk Girl are captured. He pointed at the factory. And where's Batman and Cage? Jean looked down. Gone. Flash took a glance at Kara, who was looking at the factory, trembling a little. They were true warriors, Diana said as they went to the factory. Once inside, they found Superman and Hawk Girl hanging upside down from the ceiling, their eyes opened, showing red eyes as smoke blew into the room, knocking everyone out. Superman and Hawk Girl changed into a leans and carried everyone out. Later, Jean woke up to see Superman yelling at him as everyone was caught in the wall. An alien walked up to them before speaking in English. Earth mightiest heroes. He changed into Senator Carter. The real Carter never returned from Mars, he explained before the ceiling G opened, having a black ship come in, causing the aliens to bow all hail the Imperium. The Carter alien said as a big purple alien hovered out with tentacles and brought Gene up dead. The last Martian Imperium shocked Gene, causing him to revert to his original form. You defied us for centuries, Gene Stu. D up, and I will never bow before you or your kind. Imperium grabbed Jan and brought him inside. What are you hiding? He asked, shocking Gene. Now boom, an explosion hits above the heroes while an arrow is sent flying at Carter. He caught it only for it to explode in his face. Looking up, they saw Batman and Naruto standing on the wall with a hole in the shield holding a gem cage. Kara exclaimed, struggling to get out. Batman puts a device in the hole, causing everything to go blue. I mentally shielded them to protect them. Jan says his Batman uses a small torch to get Diana out while she helps get everyone out. Once Kara got free, she flew to Naruto and hugged him. I thought I lost you, she said as everyone started creating holes in the factory, killing the alien with the sun as it heat through the clouds. Naruto smiled before kissing her. I'll never leave you, Kara, letting him go. Kara turned and saw Diana wrap her lasso around the ship, keeping it from escaping. She lost her grip as the ship fired back. Kara flew up and grabbed it as Hawkgirl attacked with her mace, destroying the armor. Diana flew up and helped pull the ship back down, crashing into the factory. It's going down, Hawkgirl yelled as everyone flew out as the factory blew up, having the clouds disappear. Landing on a building, they saw a large ship go up in the sky and disappeared. Hopefully that's the last we'll see of them, Naruto commented as Kara held on to him. You going to let me go? He asked, getting her to shake her head. Later, this is Snap. Our car. In the aftermath, Superman and a team of heroes drive out pockets of resistance as everything slowly returns to normal, Snapper said, showing clips of everyone attacking alien walkers from around the world. The scene changed to Snapper at a press conference with General Wells talking to the report. We got lucky this time, but what if they return? He asked before Batman turned off his monitor and thought for a moment. The Watchtower. Incredible, Superman said, looking down at Earth before turning to Batman. Does your stockholders know about this, Bruce? Batman just walked up. Bruce Wayne, Naruto, with his hood down, asked, walking up to them. Well, I guess I know how you pay for your gadgets, Naruto said as Batman explained about the Watchtower. That felt good, Kara exclaimed, drying her hair. I love the bathroom you put in, Naruto. Hot girl with her hair wet in helmet still unnoted. Yeah, the hot spring are really good, Naruto smiled at them. Why also lined the divider with lead, so if we get anyone else with X-ray powers up here they won't be tempted. Kara floated up and wrapped her arms around his left one in a fully stocked kitchen, Flash commented as he and Diana, also with wet hair, had an iced mock in their hands and walked up from another room. Diana took a sip. They don't have these on the Mr. Flash turned to her and clanked glasses. Stick around, princess, I'll show you the ropes. Diana smiled at him. Maybe I will. John floated down to them. But what does this have to do with a Superman wall? Head to the window and explained how they should be a team. What, like super friends? Flash asked jokingly, and Superman smirked. More like a Justice League. One by one everyone walked over and put their hands together. I expect you to study, Kara, and not up here all the time, Superman said to Kara, who nodded. Okay, I'll just come up here on weekends in school breaks. Looking over to Batman, Superman asked, what about you? Batman just stared at him. I'm not much of a people person, but when you need help you will call me. Naruto looked around. Where's Gene? Looking up and seeing him, Superman flew up to talk to him. Why? Oh, you ready to go home, Kara? Naruto asked Karara as she nodded and left with Naruto. Chapter 2. In Blackest Night, the Juris 5 order. An orange alien with black eyes and a horn on his forehead yelled to the talking masses in the stands that just talked louder. Silence. A male voice boomed as a light went on and a head came up on a big screen. The aliens stopped talking and looked to the screen. This height tribunal has now convened. The face set as the aliens sat back down. Never before has so many put aside their difference and come together for one goal. Two more heads came up and the one on the screen left spoke in a female's voice. But never before has there been a crime so heinous to unite us in grief and revulsion. The head on the right spoke up in a male voice. We are gathered here today to seek justice. A yellow alien in a white and black trimmed robes with a blue circle on his chest and over high ears came up on a floating platform where as the accused the first head asked as the alien gestured to an empty platform on the floor. Unfortunately he's still at large. The other two heads turned to the first one for a second before the first head spoke up. Manhunters stepped forward. A group of robo TS with silver heads, blue gloves and boots holding rods walked up. This is no ordinary criminal. Going after him will result in great peril. Are you ready for that? The one in front replied. No man escapes. The manhunters show us a picture of the accused. The yellow alien pushed a button on his platform. He a native from Earth. An image of John in his Green Lantern uniform came up. The Green Lantern John Stewart Naruto Kent Farm. A shirtless Naruto in blue jeans was standing on a cart putting bales of hay in the loft of the barn listening to the radio. Take a little ride with you. The song played as he Art a voice from behind him. Hey handsome. Turning around he saw Kara in blue jeans and a tank top standing beside another girl with long red hair, green eyes, dark pants and blue shirt. He jumped down. Hey beautiful. Kara, noticing the other girl was staring, elbowed her. You're drooling, she said with a SM. As the girl turned to her. Sorry, not many guys our age has a six-pack. Naruto puts on a sleeveless black shirt and walked over to them. I'm Naruto. Naruto greeted as the girl smiled. I'm Barbara. Naruto took a glance at Kara. Is this the same Barbara who's Batgirl? Barbara's eyes widened. You told your boy friend who I am. Naruto smiled as he waved his arms. It's okay, I'm a hero also. I'm Cage. Barbara's eyes widened as she stared at one of the heroes who saved the world. Yo, your Cage? She asked before running to the door where her book bag as she came back with a pen and book. Can I have your autograph? Smiling, Naruto nodded. Hey, you never ask me for my autograph. Kara wed crossing her arms. I knew you Clark and Bruce before the invasion. Besides, Naruto's one of the few heroes our age that isn't a sidekick. Kara looked offended at that. Hey, I'm not a sidekick. Barbara looked over to her and smirked. You help out Clark more times than stopping crime yourself. Kara grumbled as Naruto wrapped an arm around her. Don't worry, Kara, one day you'll be as awesome as me, he said, grinning before Kara elbowed him in the gut, smiling as he grunted. Cage, can you read me? Jun's voice came over his earpiece. Naruto puts a finger over his right ear. Cage here, he replied as the girls looked to him. We have a small group of aliens coming down. Nodding, Naruto replied. Okay, where are they heading? We don't know, and everyone bet Hawk Girl, Flash and I are on another mission or busy. Naruto sighed before replying. Okay, me and Kara will get ready, so send us the coordinates when you can, he finished before turning back to the girls. Looks like more aliens are attacking, but it's a small group. Kara ran and came back few seconds later in her costume. Okay, I'll change in an empty room in the barn, so wait a minute. Naruto walked out his car as Barbara looked to Kara. I can help if you want. Kara thought for a moment before replying. Okay, but stay near me or Naruto to be safe. Barbara nodded before picking up her bag and going behind some hay to change. Naruto came out with his red costume with his hood down and glasses on. Did I hear Barbara's coming? With Karen nodded as they waited for Barbara to change. She came out in a black costume with a blue-yellow cape, yellow boots, gloves, bat logo and bell. Any chance I could convince you in getting a full bodysuit? Naruto asked Kara. Who blood-used pervert? Naruto chuckled before pulling a rope from a pocket on his cargo pants. Well, Kara and flies to the others, grabbing the rope. Kara floated up as Barbara and Naruto grabbed on and was lifted up. When they got to the others, they saw Hawk Girl stand in front of a group of robots as people ran from their cars. Suddenly she was sent flying towards them. Go help the other Supergirl, Naruto said, letting go of the rope, and caught Hawk Girl in a bridle carry. You all right? he asked, letting her down as she nodded. Yes, thank you. She flew off to fight the robots with Naruto looking at them, pushing the button on his glasses. He scanned one that Ada CKED gene with its rod, shocking him. Robots and those rods seem to be like tasers. Better keep the strong jutsu as a last-ditch move since there are civilians here, Naruto thought before creating a ball in his hand. Hawk Girl hits one of the robots in the back of the head and attacked another one whose rod lengthened into a staff aimed it at her, electricity coming off the end. Renan spiraling sphere. Naruto jumps on the robot, sending it into the pavement before jumping away. His Badgirl threw a batang at it, hitting it and shocked it. Supergirl attacked one by ramming it into a brick wall before getting G hit by electricity. Suddenly Superman came and punched it. What's going on? He asked as Flash ran up to him. Don't know, they're looking for Green Lantern, he replied just before being shocked by another robot standing on a car. Naruto pushed the red button on his bow before picking an arrow out with a do. End picture the ones Green Arrow uses. He shot the arrow hitting the robot in the back of the neck, but nothing happened. Jean jumped down on the robot, crushing the car. Jean walked ahead as the robot picked up the car and threw it at Jan. Flash pushed Jean out of the way as Superman caught the car and Naruto and Barbara attacked by shocking it with arrows and batarangs. Supergirl flew down on it and kicked it down before flying over to the others. Everyone stared at the robots as Naruto made a bigger Renan spiraling sphere. Superman and Supergirl shot lasers at them as Naruto dashed over Odama Ren. On big ball spiraling sphere, a green brick wall formed in between them, having the lasers and Narc attack hit it. Stop, Green Lantern yelled as he floated down. Better late than never, Flash said with Green Lantern looking at him before walking to the robots. Are you the Green Lantern known as John S. Toward one asked as Green Lantern nodded yes. The robot held out his hand. Your ring. John looked at his ring for a moment before handing it over. What the hell are you doing? Naruto asked before John glances back. Stay out of this. Two other robots then put cuffs on him that covered from his wrists up to his elbow. A yellow beam came down, having John and the robots disappear. Everyone glanced at each other for a moment. We should find them, Kara exclaimed as Nar walked over and picked his arrow up. Where would we start? Hawk Girl asked with Naruto holding his arrow up while I tagged one looking down. His arrow's missing the top part. Watchtower. Naruto with his hood down and glasses hanging off the front of his shirt looked as a dot moved across a map of the G alley. Know where he is yet? Barbara asked walking up to him. Naruto shook his head. No, they're still moving. After a moment the dot stopped. Scratch that Naruto tapped the dot and a name popped up. Ajuris 5. The others walked up. Okay Kara, you'll stay here to help Batman and Diana. Kara looked to Superman. Why? Superman started walking up to the hangar as Naruto explained. You're as strong as Superman. Batman and Diana could use your help if anything goes wrong while we're gone. Singh Carrara nodded. Why don't you show Barbara around the tower? Naruto said, walking to catch up with the rest. Why don't I show you the bath? Naruto helped install later. Both Kara and Barbara are in the bathroom leaning against the ground. It looks like a Japanese bath house with vents around the top of the wall. What's the vents for? Barbara asked as Kara reached to one of the fake rocks, opened it and pulled a remote out to let the steam out. She pressed a button and a TV came out of the wall in front of them. So anyway, I can join the league. Kara looked over to her. ND shook her head. No, not yet. At least Barbara raised an eyebrow. Why not? You and Naruto are around my age. Kara sighed and started to explain. I know, but the public is still afraid of us, mainly Clark and I. Will have to wait until everything calms down before we add more. I mean, we have talked about at least keeping in contact with other heroes if we need help. Kara and Barbara continued to talk with the others towards Ajuris 5. Why would he give up his reign? It just doesn't make sense, Hawk Girl commented as she was flying the jet beside Superman. Maybe he didn't want to cause trouble for the Green Lantern Corps. For Earth, he must have at least have known what they have wanted. Naruto commented from the back behind Flash and Jan. J's STR1. That's for sure, Superman said with Hawk Girl looking to him. I'm beginning to think all you humans are strange. Naruto and Superman looked at her. Sorry. He apologized as Superman smiled. It's all right, I take it as a compliment, he replied as Naruto chuckled. And I'm not technically from Earth. Superman reached to push a button but was attacked by a ship before he could. Flash quickly typed on the keyboard on his seat. They're not responding to our signal. He yelled out as Hawk Girl reached to pull a lever. If they want to fight, then they got. Superman stopped her before she could do anything. No, we're not starting a war. He stood up and walked back. Flash, Cage, take the controls, he ordered as Hawk Girl and Jan flew out to take care of the ship's UW. Wouldn't know how to fly a jet, would you? Flash asked as Cage ran up to the wheel. I've been reading up and taking lessons, but this would be my first time flying the jet. He pushed the button on his glasses before handing them to Flash. The lessons are coming up. I hope you're a fast learner. Naruto pushed A few buttons before looking back and seeing the others taking the ships down but leaving them to land safely. Naruto weaved through a few narrow buildings before landing on top of another one. Well, that went well, Naruto commented before opening the door only to see a bunch of guards taking his glass. Back. Naruto threw a smoke bomb down before turning on his dead-eye vision. Seeing the guards clearly, he knocked out everyone. The others flew down and Jan looked back to a dome-shaped building. Green Lantern as there they flew up with Jean taking Flash and Ha Girl taking Naruto up to the glass ceiling. Superman made a hole with his laser and flew in with the others following. Stop the intruders. Looking up they saw three faces on a screen. Two guards flew over on platforms only for Superman to throw them across the run. The Manhunter started walking over until Superman yelled stop. He turned to the ads. We're sorry for interrupting, but Jon Stewart is our friend. One head glanced over. This is a public trial, the head said in a female's voice. Very well, you may take seats in the galley, the second said in a male's voice, but this tribunal won't tolerate any more outbursts, the third said also in a Ale's voice. Nodding, the group walked onto a platform form and went to find seats. Are you ready to call your first witness? The head in the middle asked the alien prosecutor. Yes, my lord, I call Conjure Ro. Inhuman-looking alien in a blue outfit with a sleeveless shirt and helmet covering his face walked in and came up to a guard. Conjure Ro, you agree to let us probe and display any and all memories? Conjure Ro scoffed and walked to a platform. I've got nothing to hide. He went up to the prosecutor. State your name and profession. Conjure R lifted up his visor showing insect-likey eyes. Conjure ROI. Pirate. The prosecutor raised his eyebrow. A criminal, yet you came to bear witness to a crime. Why? Conjure R pointed to himself and explained, I may steal things, but it's nothing compared to what he did. He pointed to John as the crowd whispered among themselves. Naruto with his hood off looked at Conj Ro and narrowed his eyes. He turned on his detective vision and a box with Conjure Ro's heartbeat and pulse came up on his lenses. Superman, check his heart. Superman looked confused but looked at Conjure R. His heart's racing. Naruto nodded. Yeah, he's lying. Ha Girl leaned over to them. Then we show old tell them. Naruto looked over to her. They could just say Superman's lying and that I rigged these. We did say John's our friend when we came in. They'll just assume we trying to rig evidence to help him out. Hawk Girl huffed and crossed her arms. Lawyers can twist things around to help their case. Yuto finished turning back to the trail. A white light came down on Conjure Roo and he explained what John did. His memories was broadcasted showing John stopping him being attacked by other ships and a beam from his ring deflecting onto another planet and causing it to explode. 3 billion, that's how many died. Conjure R finished before floating down. Recess was called and the others walked down to talk to John. So you're just clearing your name, is that why you didn't put up a fight back on Earth? Flash asked as John glared. I told you to stay out of this. Naruto walked up to him passing and brushing against Conjure Ro. Conjure R is lying about something. John looked up to where a jurist was. You see that I did it, I'm guilty. He was then taken into his holding cell. 3 billion died. I'm not buying it, Flash said as Superman thought for a second. I don't either. He walked over and glanced up to the sky. I want to take a closer look. Girl looked at him. Why? John says he's guilty and no one's disputing the facts. Superman turned and walked up to Jean. Maybe I am Jean, I need you to come with me. He turned to the others. Flash, Cage, Hot Girl, can you buy us some time? Naruto crossed his arms before replying, we do our best. He and the others went back to the top of the stands as Superman and John left. Later John stood back up with Conjure Arrow floating beside him. Jon Stewart, you may now question your own accuser, the head in the middle said as John looked down. No questions. Are you sure you do have the right to defend yourself? The female said as John nodded. I object. This trial is a farce. Flash yelled out. What are you doing? Hawk Girl hissed at him. Buying time, Flash replied before speeding down. You should hear both sides before passing judgment. The heads looked to each other. We don't want any lingering BTS about our judgment, the female said as the other heads agreed. Who will defend him? The second head asked as Flash looked up to them. Don't you have any lawyers? The first head looked down before replying. No, we took care of the lawyers long ago. The female head continued on for the first head. But you Could speak for him, but you'll share his judgment. Flash's eyes widened and looked at Johan. What, that's crazy. The first head looked back to him. That's how we solved our lawyer problem. Flash floated up. Before I begin, I would like to talk about Corpus Naruto face P-Med. As Flash rambled, I have a feeling this will end badly, he said before noticing Hawk Girl leaving. Following after her, they came to the cafeteria and saw a group of Green Lanterns eating at table. Why aren't you at the trial? She asked as one scoffed. Why, we know what's going to happen. JNS gave us a bad name, Hawk Girl growled, having Naruto take a few steps away from her. She attacked him with her mace and he blocked using his rein. The bartender ran over waving his tentacles. Friends, please, no weapons, no weapons. Hawk Girl looked to him. You think I need this to fight? She threw her mace at a support and continued to fight as Naruto sat down beside a Green Lantern who was in fighting. Not going to help your lady friend? He asked Naruto, who shook his head. No, she would kick my ass if I tried to help, he replied as the Green Lantern took a sip of his drink. I'm Kawag. Why are you defending JN? Kawag asked, catching a Green Lantern from going out the window. He's my friend. What else do I need? Kawag just raised an eyebrow. A friend will bail you out of jail, but a true friend will be right beside you smoking a cigarette, saying, damn, that was fun. I think Flash would be in that group if John's found guilty. Kawag looked at the fight, stood up and broke it up. Enough, she's right. John's one of us, so we should do all we can to help. He flew off with Hawk Girl carrying Naruto. Followed. Looking down, they saw Kanjuro talking to a manhunter. Looking at each other, they flew off in another direction, going to a roof, and watched them. Looks like the man hunters are also in on this, Naruto commented. Seeing Kanjuro run off, they followed him to his ship. There's one weekend borrow, Naruto said, pointing to an empty ship. Getting in it, they followed Kanjuro to where Superman and Jay are looking at a machine on a moon. Get me clothes, Naruto said, putting on a space suit. As she did that, Naruto disappeared in a gold flash and reappeared beside Kanjuro, putting a kunai to his throat. He whispered to him, land now. Gulping, he landed on a smooth surface beside Superman. How did you get in his ship? Superman asked as Hawk Girl landed. I put a marker on him. He walked past his at recess, Naruto explained. His Hawk Girl flew out and landed beside him. We followed him from a Juris 5. Jean pointed to him before asking, he's behind this? He then pointed to the big machine behind him. No, the manhunters seem to be, Naruto explained before Superman and Jan left with Conjure wait for our signal before destroying it, Superman ordered as they flew away. As they waited, Naruto formed a green ball that took the shape of a shuriken. John as innocent, they heard Superman yell from their earpiece. Naruto turned to Hawk Girl before throwing the tribe prong kunai down. I got it. He ran up and hits the machine. Futon rose and Sharken wind release spiraling shuriken. Naruto flashed back before his attack expanded and destroyed the machine. Looking up, they saw a planet reappear. Well, lead and go back, Naruto said, getting in their ship and flew back. They saw them with small elderly Ions in red-black trimmed robes with the Green Lantern logo on them. The manhunters are attacking us, Superman said before Green Lantern formed a ball around them and took them to a. When they got there, they saw the manhunters attacking the city. Dropping from the ball, everyone attacked with the help of other Green Lanterns. Superman plowed through as many as he could, shooting lasers at the ones in the air. Flash and Naruto took care of the ones on the ground, with Naruto throwing a bunch of tri-prong kunai and Flash cutting the heads off the ones near them. Suddenly, green energy came out of a building with a silhouette of a manhunter in it. Then all of the Green Lanterns had started losing their powers. The energy disappeared. Beware my power, Green Lantern's light junk's voice yelled out as the NN came back, shooting the silhouette away. Soon all the manhunters were taken care of. The League sat Alking to the other Green Lanterns. You're some fighter, Lady One said to Hawk Girl, who's smiling at the compliment, but we already knew that, another one said, rubbing his jaw. Naruto elbowed her, smirking. You're blushing. She turned around to glare at him. I am not, she said, only causing his smirk to widen. John floated down and the others gathered around him. You all right, JNJ asked. His Green Lantern nodded. You believed in me even when I didn't. Flash sped up to him. What are friends for? Naruto snorted at that. Yes, Speedster here was going to die with you. Green Lantern formed another ball around them. Let Go home, he said as they started floating up later at the watchtower. Naruto with his hood down was looking down at the earth as he and Hawk Girl was doing guard duty. So why don't you tell me about yourself? Hawk Girl looked up from typing in the computer. Why, she asked, making him shrugged. You're my friend, I just want to know you a cop back on Thanagar, right? She nodded before replying. A detective. Naruto walked over and stopped beside her. What's your real name? She looked back up to him. I don't want to call you Hawk Girl all the time. She looked down for a moment before replying. Shishale. Naruto smiled down at her nice name. Cher continued to type on the computer. Flash was asking me questions before the manhunters came down. He had an ulterior motive though, she said, making Naruto snort. I don't blame him. You're hot, but unlike him, I'm not trying to get in your pants unless I can talk Kara into a three-way. He was forced to dodge a wrench that Shira threw at him. So is that a no? He asked as she glared at him. You haven't told the count of 10, she threatened before she started counting down. I'm sure I can convince her. She stood up and turned to him. 0, she yelled and started chasing him around the room. Get back here so I can kill you. Naruto glanced back at her, smiling. Come on, that was funny. She continued chasing him, and that was the scene the others came to as they walked in. Seeing his chance, Naruto dashed past them and ran to the hangar. Anyone going down? He asked before Kara flew after him. Naruto's house night. Naruto, Kara, and Barbara are in Naruto's backyard sitting around a fire pit roasting marshmallows. I can't believe you did that, Kara said as Naruto puts his marshmallow on a graham cracker with chocolate. I was kidding, like 85%. She glared at him as he ate. I was DDING. Hunter walked over with a steak in his mouth. So you Santo Aku? Barbara asked, eating her s'more. Naruto nodded. Yeah, the manhunters became self-aware basically and wanted revenge on the Guardians. Naruto explained, standing up. What, to camp out tonight? It a nice night? Barbara nodded. Yeah, it's Friday, so why not? I'll call Dad and let him know. She got up and walked away a few feet. Want to go get an extra pajama for her? Naruto asked Kara, who nodded. She flew away as Naruto walked inside and got 2 tents as he was setting them up. Kara flew back with 2 pajamas in her hands. Go change while I finish up here. The girls went inside, leaving Naruto to finish up. Do you a radio or anything? Nar asked the girls from outside. Yeah, we'll listen to music before going to bed, Kara replied as she and Kara came out in blue pajamas and short-sleeved shirts. Naruto walked inside, giving Kara a kiss as he passed her, and in a few minutes came out in just a red pajama pants with a small radio. He turned it on and the 3 started taking as Hunter walked up and laid down beside Barbara. Don't worry, you won't bite, Naruto said, seeing the slightly scared look Barbara gave. She hesitantly started petting him and he leaned against her hand. See, I told you, Barbara smiled as she continued petting Hunter. Is it all right if I help you on your patrols tomorrow? I told Dad I'm staying with Kara for the weekend. Shrugging, Naruto replied, sure, I don't see why not. We can even be a team. I know other heroes Sid apprentices that form a team from time to time. Naruto corrected himself, seeing Cars glare. And what would we call ourselves? Barbara asked, resting her head on her hand. It can't be the Justice League. Naruto thought for a moment before smiling. How about Team Young Justice? The girls just stared at him. What, you don't think it will catch on? He asked as they continued to talk. Carol looked up and saw a meteor shower. Hey, look. Looking up, Barbara gasped. You don't see that in the city? She said as Naruto looked up. Yeah, it's one reason I moved out here. They continued to talk throughout the night. Chapter 3. The Enemy Below. Ocean. USS Defiant submarine. Sir, unidentified craft approaching. A man said, looking at the radar. Bearing 010. The captain, a dark-skinned man with a mustache, walked over and looked down at this depth. Established radio contact, he ordered. A woman behind him who nodded and pressed a few buttons. Of tried all frequencies, no responses. Whatever it is, it's big and closing and fast, the first man said as the captain turned forward. Evasive maneuvers. Down 20 degrees. The sub started sinking deeper as a big JETL looking sub sailed up to them. It's still closing, sir, the first man yelled before they ran a red light and D alarm came on while the sub shook. Damage report, the captain yelled at as the woman looked. To your screen, starboard's rudders are out. The first man looked at his screen. The hostile craft's returning. The captain pulled down a receiver and gave out orders. Prepare torpedo tubes. The first man turned to There's no time. They were rammed again. This is the USS Defiant. We've sustained heavy damage. We're going down. Repeat, we're going down. The woman gave out a distress signal as they crashed on the ocean floor. Naruto, Superman, Green Lantern and Wonder Woman. A few minutes later, lightning flashed as they were flying in a storm to where the distress signal from the USS Defiant is signaling. So any idea what happened? Naruto asked Superman, who looked over to him. They could have just scraped up against something, but we should be ready for anything, he explained as Green Lantern spoke out. USS Defiant. This is the Justice League. Help is on the way. They went underneath the water and started looking for the sub. I've locked onto the distress beacon. We're close, Wonder Woman said, looking at the screen as Superman stood up and pointed ahead. We're not the only ones. In front of them is a huge sub that started firing at them. Green Lantern dodged the missiles and led the ship into a canyon, eventually getting the sub caught in it. Lost them, Green Lantern said before looking forward and seeing two more subs. Yeah, you lost them, Naruto replied sarcastically as Superman stood up, opened a compartment and took out a breathing mask. Those sailors won't stand a chance if we keep playing cat and mouse. Let's go, Cage, take the controls, he ordered, walking out with Wonder Woman and Green Lantern. Okay, I see why you brought me now, Naruto said to them as a wall came up to keep water from getting in. Holy crap, Arit cursed, dodging missiles that were shot at the ship. Doesn't maneuver as well in water, he commented, seeing the others attack the subs and destroying them. He then saw another sub come up with people all but one in black and silver armor on jet skies. Naruto saw a man in green gold armor with blonde hair, mustache, goatee, silver earrings and necklace, holding a trident, talking to the others. He held down the button on his glasses and scanned the blonde-haired man. Let's see, it says his name is Arthur, aka is Aquaman, and he's the king of Atlantis. I thought Bruce was messing with me when he put that in, Naruto said, looking on as the others were able to get the sailors out with Green Lantern's rain. Hearing the wall come down, Naruto turned and saw Wonder Woman walking, taking her mask off. So how did it go, he asked as Wonder Woman sat beside him and buckled up. We'll have to leave the sub, but we're talking the people. Naruto looked back to Aquaman. Doesn't he know that could pollute the ocean? What if something or someone causes an accident, he asked again as they floated up to the top and went in the air. We don't want to get on his bad side. Superman is convincing him to go to the World Assembly. Talk, she replied, hitting another button and switching to flying mode and following after Green Lantern. Naruto took a glance back, seeing Superman talking to Aquaman. Atlantis throne room. The surface dwellers are barbaric. They sailed their weapons in our sea and polluted a soldier with a black goat, said to Atlantis ruler, and a man in green robes with long brown hair and a ponytail standing beside him. There's only one way to make sure Atlant is safe, and my troops are ready to take action, he finished as a woman with long red hair in a green dress and eyes with a golden spiked tiara walked up. Holding a baby boy with blonde hair and green eyes walked up and stood beside a man. What kind of action, Arthur asked the soldier. We have the technology to wipe them off the face of the earth. Just give the order. Aquaman took a breath before replying, General Brack, I decide policy, her not you, General B. Raw eyes widened before talking again. How long must we stay back? The brown-haired man stepped forward, raising his hand. General Brack, your king has spoken, he said as General Brack stood back and bowed. I'm sorry, Your Highness. Aquaman looked to the woman for a moment before turning back. General Bridge, all consider your plan, but this is serious. I'll need time on the matter. He left with the woman following after him. Later on, Arthur was with his wife holding their son. His son reached up, grabbed some of his hair and tugged down. Aquaman chuckled at him. He has a strong grip. Mayamara walked over and smiled. He takes after his father. Their son soon fell asleep, and after putting him in his crib, Arthur sighed. What kind of future am I making for our son, he asked, pacing around the room. Whatever you decide, I'm sure it'll be the right decision. She held his hands in her own. Your hands are strong and noble. Will I'll gladly place my fate in them. She gave him a quick kiss and left the room, leaving Arthur to his thoughts at the watchtower. I'm sorry, General, lives were at stake. There was nothing we could do, Superman said into his phone. The others are on the other side talking. The Admiral's right, we shouldn't have left the sub, and it's in the hands of a madman, Green Lantern angrily said as Wonder Woman turned to him. He's not a madman, he's just looking out for his people. Naruto raised his arm, took the words out of my mouth. It's kind of how the leaders of my world are. At the end of the day, they look out only For their own village, Green Lantern snorted before walking away. Who's going to protect us from him? Naruto dead-panted his retreating form. Isn't that our job? I mean, we defeated bigger problems than him. Remember the invasion, the Manhunters? Green Lantern didn't reply as he went to the hangar. Naruto sig head before turning to Wonder Woman. I meant to ask you about your island. I knew a village that was similar to it. Wonder Woman turned to him and raised an eyebrow. Really? He nodded before explaining, yeah, except they didn't hate men and would marry the one who defeated them in combat. I met one, right? Bef or coming here. He went into telling her about Shizuka. So do you still miss your friends? She asked as he gave a small smile. Sometimes, but I still keep in contact with them every now and then. They continued to make small talk until they heard a scream. Naruto Flash came speeding in wearing a pink uniform. Hey Flash, anything up? Naruto asked as if nothing was wrong. Flash just glared at him before pointing at himself as Wonder Woman snickered. What the hell did you do to my costume? These aren't cheap, you know. Hayat Girl and Supergirl came in, saw Flash and fell down laughing. It's not funny, he yelled over to them before turning back to Naruto only to find him gone. I'll get you back for this, he yelled into his earpiece before speeding away. Later, Naruto was changing channels on the TV as Green Lantern stormed up the Wonder Woman, and John the First knew he couldn't trust that fish man. The sub stripped and the plutonium is gone. Naruto looked back as they talked. And you think Aquaman's responsible? Wonder Woman asked him as he snorted. Who else? Princess Naruto spoke up from his spot. Maybe someone wants to frame him. They turned to him as he explained, this happens quite a lot in my world. People would frame a aider for something to discredit them or usurp them. Naruto turned back to the TV and continued, truth be told, I was framed for killing Jonin in 2 villages and attempted murder of the leader of another village. He finished as he continued flipping through channels. Aquaman then barged through. He passed the channel before pausing. Changing back, he spoke up to the others behind him. Guys, Aquaman's not in Atlantis. The others walked up and saw a snapper car at the World Assembly. Aquaman, at the World Assembly? First you steal a nuclear sub, then you threatened us with peace. Who gave you the right? A diplomat asked as Aquaman crossed his arms. I'm the born ruler of Atlantis. Everyone started arguing with him until Superman with the others burst through the door. Aquaman, wait. Naruto walked in front of him and puts a hand on his shoulder. These things will take time, besides they're looking out for their people. Like you're looking out for yours. Naruto took a step back as Aquaman looked at the diplomats for a moment before walking out. Wait. Wonder Woman walked in front of him only for Aquaman to roughly push her to Naruto. Wow, his wife's a lucky woman if she could handle him, he commented following after Atlan Tis ruler. When they got to the doors, they saw Aquaman walk past the reporters. Naruto then noticed a shine out of the corner of his eyes and looked up at the building to his left. Eyes widening, he threw a tri-pronged kunai near Aquaman and flashed to him just as a missile hits them both. Naruto and A man were then thrown into a stone fountain, breaking it. No, Superman whispered as he flew over and saw Naruto with blood coming down his face and Aquaman's eyes rolling back into his head. Metropolis knew, and after the explosion the Justice League took both Cage and Aquaman to the hospital. Snapper CAR reported as the scene of Superman with Aquaman and Wonder Woman with Naruto flying off from the scene played. We have just received word that thanks to Cage, Aquaman didn't suffer any major damage and will be fine. He's expected to make a full recovery. General Brack turned off the screen as a brown haired man in Aquaman's robes walked in. Even if he's all right, we can't let this attack go unpunished, he said as General BR walked up. With all due respect, Lord Orm, but you don't have the authority to give orders. The king is. Orm interrupted him. The king's injured and they could have lied so he wouldn't retaliate, or they could attack him while he's recovering, and the prince is still an infant. General BRCK continued explaining. Even so, the law must. War interrupted him again. The prince will take the throne when he comes of age. Maya walked in with a worried look. Orm, did you hear? She asked as Orm walked up and hugged her. Oh dear Mara, I'm so sorry for your loss. Mara broke the hug and looked at him. You speak as if he died. Orm sighed before explaining, he may be. All we know is he could have been attacked again, or they're not giving us the full report. Metropolis Hospital, how are they? Dr. Wonder Wong and asked the doctor as he walked out from working on Aquaman and Naruto. Well, Aquaman's vitals are stable, but he has a concussion and we can't pierce his skin to help him. Green Lantern walked up. And what about Cage? The doctor looked at the window. Cage took the worst with bruised ribs, internal bleeding. Gee, and a nasty bump on the head. He's healing very fast. I've never seen anything like it. I can help Aquaman. They turned around and saw Batman walk out of the shadows. They rushed Aquaman to the room. Batman set up a healing tank and put him in it. Batman gave the doctor a clipboard. Keep sailing levels at 3.3%. Before anything else could be said, they heard a female's voice yell out, "Where is H?" Supergirl flew in the door, tears running down her face. "Where's Cage?" Superman pointed down the hall. Room 300. Nodding, Supergirl sped down the hall and into the room. Later, Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, Jean, Naruto, WITH bandages covering his neck and shoulders, with Supergirl pestering him, and Green Lantern, who's watching. The reporters outside are looking at Aquaman. Supergirl: "I'm fine, everything but a few bruises are healed." That didn't stop Supergirl. "I was scared. Okay, when I get my hands on the person." Naruto silent. "Ced her with a kiss." "I'm fine, thanks for the concern." "Hune's coming too," Superman said, seeing Aquaman move. Green Lantern walked over to the front of the tube. "Good, now maybe we can get some answers." He started banging on the tube. "Don't you go to the aquarium. You're not supposed to tap the glass." Naruto saw it. His Green Lantern ignored him. "What did you do with the plutonium?" Aquaman woke up, looked at him, and jumped out of the tube. "Plutonium?" he asked. His Green Lantern glared at him. "The ones on the sub. You stole it." Aquaman looked at him confused. "My orders were to leave the sub as it laid." Naruto thought for a second before asking Aquaman a question. "Do you have anyone who'd want to start a war or possibly take your throne?" Aquaman turned to him. "My general tried to convince me to attack, but I gave orders to stand down, and after you had come up here, you have an assassin after you. I think someone wants you dead to start a war." Naruto finished as Aquaman started walking out. "Wait, I can help," Batman said as Aquaman turned to him and raised an eyebrow. Outside, paramedics were taking Aquaman to an ambulance as reporters started swarming around them as the Justice League are watching from on top of surrounding buildings. "I hope your plan works, Batman," Wonder Woman said into her earpiece as Naruto looked around with his glasses. "I see someone," he said, pointing down at the ground at a man beside a mailbox. "I see him," Batman replied, throwing a batang at the man who's aiming a bazooka at the hospital and hits it. Using the missile to hit the ground, the man ran into a manhole as Superman followed and tried opening it, only to be shocked when he touched it. Batman and Jan came down and Jean faced down to the man, now in a red silver trimmed suit, past him riding on a bike. "Cage, Diana, he's headed towards you." Wonder Woman and Naruto jumped down and Wonder Woman punched the pavement, created a hole just as the man passed. Wonder Woman flew ahead and dropped down to him. "End of the line," she said, but the man fired up and made debris fall on her. Up above, Naruto followed using his detective vision. "Okay, Batman threw down and some clap traps, so that should stop him." "Ouch," Naruto said, seeing the man crash. "Okay, Batman, now just get him." He finished. Seeing Batman walk up, he saw the man throw a smoke bomb and ran off, following him. Naruto caught him getting into a van and speed off, getting his bow. Naruto picked up an arrow with white writing on the shaft. He shot the van and flashed dead, sticking on it with chakra. Walking to the roof, he started going through hand signs. "Doden Suppu no Jutsu, Earth Release Spike Jutsu 1." Spikes came up a few feet away and popped the tires of the van. Naruto jumped off as it crashed. Superman FLEW over and picked the man out. "Deadshot?" Naruto asked as Supergirl floated down. "You know him, Cage? I've run into him a few times. He's a hired gun." The others came down and Wonder Woman walked up. "Who paid you?" Deadshot looked over to Hero. "Come on, babe, I can't say professional ethics." He looked her up and down, checking her out. "But if you make it worth my while." Batman then took him a few feet away as Kara sighed. "Pervert." Naruto looked to her and smirked. "Well, you heroines and villainesses are hot and dress in revealing clothing. I don't blame him for checking her out." Kara punched him lightly in the arm, getting him to wince. "So do you check them out also?" she asked as he started sweating. "And no, never, honey." Supergirl snorted and crossed her arms. "Yeah, right." Batman brought Deadshot back and started asking questions. "Who hired you?" Deadshot brushed off some dust before answering. "I don't know their name. I never Sked questions." Batman just glared at him. "Not good enough. How are you paid?" Deadshot turned to the back of his van, showing an open chest with gold coins and small statue shoes in gold. That man walked over and picked one up. "Spanish Dion's." Everyone looked to him. "Where would they get that?" Naruto asked as Jean spoke up. Atlantis, their eyes widened, called it knew someone from there, wanted him dead, Naruto said before Green Lantern floated down, rubbing his jaw. Too late to warn him, he's already heading back. Wonder Woman sighed before looking up. Hera, help him. Superman thought for a moment before turning to Supergirl, I want you to stay up here in case this person attacks while we go to Atlantis to help out. Aquaman cried as she nodded. Okay, that's a good plan. Naruto, Jean, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern and Superman were coming up on Atlantis, Wonder Woman said, looking at a screen. Suddenly a sub and a bunch of men on jet skis came up in front. Go on outside, I'll take the controls and get the ship out of the way. We really need to get the jet upgraded to fight these, Naruto said as the others left to fight. I really need to find a way to help fight underwater, Naruto sighed, seeing the others take care of the soldiers and sub only did get hit by depth charges. Well, damn, I'll need to hide and help when they're alone. Later Naruto saw them with a device on their heads being put in a room with a glass wall coming up, filling with water. Focusing, Naruto flashed beside Wonder Woman. Need help, he asked as the water stopped and the guards started attacking the glass. He pulled the device off her and Superman, having them pull out of their restraints and attack the guards. How did you get in here? Wonder Woman asked, standing over a guard. I tagged everyone with my Horizon Flying Thunder God in case something like TS happened, Naruto explained as he walked up to Jean and pulled the device off him. And then Green Lantern, how did you? Walking out, Naruto saw Mio with a moss in hand. Never mind, I need help to find my husband, she said as they nodded and left to the throne room, attacking guards along the way. Later everyone but Naruto and Wonder Woman left to search the palace. We've searched the palace, Jean said, phasing up before Superman flew in, and we still haven't found him. Naruto's eyes widened and everyone looked to where he was staring. Aquaman walked in holding his son who's wearing nothing. Maya ran up and hugged him. My love, you're all right, she lets go and Aquaman hands her their son. So is our son. He grasps his left arm and Mara looks down. Your hand, she exclaimed, seeing a blanket wrapped around where his left hand was. Where is her? He asked as Naruto walked up and pulled a syringe out of his pocket. This will help numb the pain. He stuck Aquaman before they took him to the doctor. The doctor was working on him as Maya and the others were watching his own hand. Superman commented. His Green Lantern crossed his arms. Told you he was a madman. Mara turned to yell at him, but Naruto spoke up. You'd be surprised at a parent will do when the life of their child's at stake. Mine took a demon's claw met for me through their stomach an hour after I was born. Everyone turned to him but didn't press the matter further. Superman, we have a problem at the North Pole. Thermal readings show the temperature rising fast. Man said through the earpiece. If that continues, the ecosystem effects could be catastrophic, Jean commented before Green Lantern spoke up. Then we should go investigate. Wonder Woman turned to look at Aquaman. What about the crisis here? Aquaman spoke up. They may be related. He went on to explain how he ed up a thermal reactor to melt the polar ice caps. We should hurry and stop him, Naruto said, turning around only for Aquaman to stop him, and he will be standing up. Aquaman lifts his left arm, showing a silver hook replacing his hand. North Pole. Aquaman, wait. Aquaman looked up and saw Superman, Wonder Woman, Jean and Green Lantern flying above him. Why are you following me? He asked, with Wonder Woman replying, we want to help. Aquaman sighed as he continued walking. It's my fight. They floated in front of him. It would be easier with help. Aquaman stared at them for a moment. Just stay out of my way. Suddenly the were attacked by a missile and jumped back. Subs came out of the water and shot them again. Everyone flew at them, with Green Lantern bringing Aquaman to the water and dropped him as soldiers came out and rushed them. Superman, the glaciers are starting to melt, Batman said in his earpieces. He and Naruto flew in the bad jet, and at this rate they won't last long. Naruto finished as he looked around. So where are the bad snacks? He asked. His Batman sighed. I don't have any snacks and I don't put bad in front of everything, Batman replied to Naruto. So Joker was kidding when I helped you escort him to Arkham that one time? He asked before shrugging. Oh well, at least it's the worst thing he did, he said as Batman raised an eyebrow. What would have been the worst he could have done? Batman asked as Naruto glanced, seeing Aquaman jump on a killer whale over some soldiers. He could have escaped, took over asylum, and we would have spent the rest of the night rounding everyone up. He finished watching Wonder Woman attack a soldier with her lasso, pulling him up in the air before dropping him in the water. We should get to the reactor, Naruto commented as Batman nodded. Exactly what I was thinking, he replied. D. Taking the jet to where the reactor signal was located. Green Lantern flew up to them. There's not much time. If the reactor isn't shut down, the world is doomed, Batman said as they closed in. I guess this is a bad time to say I told you so, Green commented as Naruto snorted. You said Aquaman's behind th. Is it was his brother landing. They went inside and saw Aquaman fighting war. Let's just shut down the reactor as Aquaman takes care of him, Nar whispered. His Green Lantern took them to the reactor. No, Orange shouted, seeing them. Naruto shot an arrow at his feet and with a flash of light blinded him for a moment. Damn, we'll need to shut it down from inside, Batman said, causing Green Lantern's eyes to widen. Can your ring protect me, he asked as Green Lantern nodded. It should, but you'll need to hurry. Green Lantern cloaked Batman, who went inside. Outside, Aquaman and Orm were fighting on an ice bridge just outside from where the reactor is. Tackled Aquaman down to a lower bridge and tried stabbing Aquaman with his trident. Aquaman kicked him away, stood up and walked over to her only for her to cut him with a knife. Orm stood up and pushed Aquaman against the wall. You're not fit to wear. They're stopped as the bridge collapsed except the section Aquaman was on. Hanging on, Orm looked up. Brother, help me. Aquaman bent down and picked up his trident. I believe this belongs to me. Ors slipped and screamed as he fell down below. Naruto shot an arrow down with the tip opening and clamping down near Aquaman. A rope was connected to it leading up to Naruto. Picking up the arrow, Aquaman wrapped the rope around his left arm, swung over to the other side and climbed up. You going to be all right? He was your brother. Aquaman nodded and walked over as the reactor shut down and Batman crawled out. The threat is over, Aquaman and commented as they walked out. Later, Atlantis, take them away, Aquaman ordered. The soldiers who took General BRCK and the soldiers who followed were away. Aquaman sighed and looked to the others. I can only blame myself. My fear of the surface blinded me to what I really should have feared, he said before glancing at his hook in. It had costed me greatly. Naruto raised an eyebrow at him. No, it didn't. You still have your wife and child. I think giving a hand is a small price for their safety. Aquaman walked over to look at his city. You're right, all I ever wanted was peace for Atlantis. Superman walked over to him. With all that's happened, it won't be easy. Aquaman sighed and looked at his family. I know, but some sacrifices are worth it. Naruto smiled, walked up and puts his tri-prong an eye on the throne. Throw that down if you need help or need to talk right away, he explained before he and the others left Ader at the Daily Planet. Lois Lane was walking out of the Daily Planet when she hears a voice behind her. So I did promise an interview. Turning around, she saw Naruto leaning against the wall in his costume without his bow. Taking a glance around, she saw everyone walking past them like he wasn't there. I put an illusion around us so we wouldn't be bothered, he explained as he walked over to her. There a place we can do this alone. It may not look like it, but it's hard holding this illusion up. Looking around, Lois saw an empty balcony with tables up a few stories high. Up there, nodding, Naruto picked her up and jumped over before running up the wall. Sorry about being late, Hayat girl, and I do guard duty at the watchtower the most since we don't have jobs. Lois shook her head. It's all right, Lois said, putting a voice recorder on the table. Tell me about yourself. How did you go from a rookie hero to being one of the saviors of the world? Nar thought for a moment before replying, well, I'm like Superman and Supergirl. Lois raised an eyebrow. You're from another world? Naruto shook his head. I'm from another universe. He smiled at her dumbfounded look. So everyone from your world can do what you do? She asked as he nodded. If you start your training at a young age, he started explaining. A young age? Naruto nodded before explaining further. Yeah, in my world we shinobi or ninja and we trained from about the age of 6 unless you're from a ninja family. Lois looked appalled at that. So your world had child soldiers? Naruto sighed before bringing his hands in front of him. In a way, but the kids do chores like taking care of gardens and walking dogs. There are also ninjas with special powers. Lois leaned forward, resting her head on her arm. Really? Like what? Naruto leaned back in his chair and continued to explain. Well, if Superman was in my world, not only will he have my powers, but him and only his kids will have his. Naruto went on to explain more about his world and have his picture taken for the article. Well, I'm sure I'll see you when I help Superman out since he practically saves you all the time, Naruto said as They walked out of the building. Lois's eyebrow twitched. He doesn't save me all the time. Naruto smirked as he walked up to his red motorcycle. Lois seeing a jaw dropped. A Dodge Tomahawk 2. Lois yelled seeing the motorcycle. Yeah, it's mine. I had it customized to fit too in case I help another hero. Oh, can't fly. He got on and put on his helmet, making sure Lois didn't see his face. He tossed her another one. I'll give you a ride home. Don't worry, I go the speed limit unless I'm stopping a criminal. But on the helmet, she got on back and held on to Naruto as he drove her to her apartment. Later, the sun as setting as Naruto drove to his home where he saw Kurara in a black shirt and jeans sat on the swing set petting Hunter. He drove to the back of the house where he built a garage to keep the motorcycle in. He put his thumb on a small seal beside the throttle, channeled chakra to it, and the bike changed into a silver color, changing into a red shirt and leaving his cargo pants on. Walked up to Kara. Eventful day, she asked as he sat beside her, and she rested her head on his shoulder. He wrapped an arm around her. Just gave Lois that interview I promised her. Hunter walked over and had laid down beside him as they swung a little. You know, I talked to Tsunade, that seal you made to help those frogs talk in English is great. Naruto raised an eyebrow at her. Oh yeah, what about how you may need to marry more girls? 3. Naruto froze for a moment. Damn, really? I was hoping I wouldn't, but I am from a clan with only a few people left, Naruto said as they watched the sunset. You know, I would like to see your home when you find a way to return. 4. Kara said as Naruto smirked. No, you wouldn't. You complain about how Earth's technology is dated compared to yours. My world's best technology is practically the VHS. Kara looked up to him for a moment. Really, you can do whatever you want with the elements, but you only mastered 80s technology? She asked before she busted out laughing. It's not funny. Naruto whined as Kara stopped and gave him a quick kiss. I still want to see it, she said, leaning against him. Surely falling asleep. Naruto smiled before picking her up bridal style and took her to a spare bedroom, took off her shoes and put her in the bed. He walked down and phoned Jonathan. Hey, Kara fell asleep, so I put her in a spare bedroom. After talking to him for a moment, Naruto hung up the phone and went to bed. Chapter 4 Injustice for All. Clark's apartment. Midday 1. Of course Clark would ask me to house sit on the dullest week of Metropolis. Kurara, now wearing shorts and a blue shirt, said, sitting on a couch flipping through the TV channels as Naruto walked in from the kitchen wearing black pants and red shirt. He walked over and sat down beside her. It's not that bad, you got me with you, and besides, even his heroes need a rest every now and then, he said, wrapping an arm around her. Smiling, she leaned against him. I guess you're right, she replied before straddling him. I can think of something to pass the time. Naruto smirked as he held her. Really? Nodding, she leaned down for a kiss. Cage. Supergirl. Kara sighed as she heard Batman over their earpieces. Yeah, we're here. What's wrong? Naruto asked as Kara rested her head on his chest. Livewire has escaped over in Gotham and Bad Girl could use the help, Batman replied as Kara got up and quickly changed. After Naruto changed, he ran down the building and into an alley where he put his motorcycle. He and Kara, who flew above him, left to Gotham Night. Gotham. When Naruto and Kara found Batgirl, they saw her ejecting out of the Batmobile holding on to a glider and float a few feet away. Suddenly, in a bolt of electricity, a woman was in front of her. She has white skin with blue hair, standing up, currently wearing a black leotard with a white lightning bolt on the middle with blue gloves and black thigh-high boots. Kara flew over and grabbed Batgirl out of the as Naruto went through some hand signs before putting his hands on the ground. Dodonchiku Domu. Earth release. Earth Dome. A dome came up over the woman and Naruto ran over to the girls. You two all right? He asked before the dome exploded. The woman tried to fire electric at them only for it to die. WN in her hand. Well, lunchtime, see ya, she replied before disappearing in a bold I'm guessing that's Livewire, Naruto asked as the girls nodded. Yep, welcome to Gotham, that girl replied before hearing sirens. Looking to the street, they saw several police cars coming up and parking. One cop, an overweight man with dark hair, came up to them and asked questions, so she got away. I hate to say this, but where's the bat? He asked as Naruto crossed his arms out on another mission. Don't worry, Hyun be back in a week, he replied before the cop glanced at the girls. And I'm sure they could handle this, he said Stickly before walking away, Kara stuck out her tongue at him as Naruto chuckled, "Don't worry about him, we'll just prove him wrong later." Supergirl was flying with Badgirl sitting on her back as Naruto followed under with his bike. "This is always awesome," that girl said as she held her arms out in front. "Like she's flying, I know, that's the best part of this," Supergirl replied as she stared ahead of them, seeing something. She pointed ahead. "What's that?" That girl looked ahead and saw electricity coming up in the air from a building. "Let's go." When they got to where the electricity is coming from, Naruto SWE had dropped all really. They snuck in and saw Livewire trying on clothes. "Too light," she said, putting on a red dress. She quickly changed into a blue dress. "Let me guess, just right." Turning around, Livewire saw Supergirl standing in front of her. "Back for more, ha?" She shot a bolt at Supergirl, who flew away. Livewire followed after her, eventually catching her in a corner and shocking her. Livewire started floating before something hits her and covers her in gray dust. "What the hell is this stuff?" Livewire asked this Badgirl, and Naruto jumped down. "That dust is completely electric proof," that girl explained. Walking up, Livewire stood up and threw a punch, only for Batgirl to dodge and punch her. "That it?" Naruto asked, looking at the prone form of Livewire. "No cage." Turning around, they saw a big vine carrying two women. One has green skin, red hair, and dressed in a dark green leotard, gloves that go up her arm, and shoes. The others in a red and black Harley Quinn outfit with white face makeup and a black mask. "Ivy?" Harley Bodier asked, eyes widening. "Friends of yours?" Supergirl asked as Naruto and Badgirl shook their heads. "Okay, I'm hurt. I thought he had something special," Ivy said as she walked over and puts her hand on his face. Supergirl glared as Naruto deadpanned, "You know your lust thing doesn't work on me, Ivy," he replied, making her pound. She walked back to Harley before attacking them. Ivy blew some spores onto Supergirl and vines suddenly started growing on her, and Harley used a glove on a spring, hitting Badgirl into a payphone as Naruto was helping Supergirl get out. "Step back," Supergirl said before she started spinning, knocking the vines off of her. Ivy threw more spores at a dazed Badgirl, but Supergirl uses her heat vision to destroy them before dashing to Ivy. She grabs Ivy, who smirked. "So predictable. You just released the world's deadliest allergen in the world." Looking back, she saw Naruto pulling a coughing Batgirl out of the smoking pay phone. Dashing over, Naruto handed Batgirl to her. "We need to get her out of here now." Nodding, Supergirl flew up and through the roof as Naruto disappeared in a Florida Barbara apartment. Naruto pulled Barbara's mask off, took the mask from the oxygen tank and puts it over her mouth. A moment later, Barbara opens her eyes and saw Naruto standing over her. "Welcome back," he said as she sat up and held the ASKK. He looked around and saw a few computers and a table set up for lab work. "So how do you pay for this?" he asked as she explains she works for the police. "It also gives me access to police activities." After a few minutes, Barbara got up and puts her mask back on and the trio left. Naruto got on his bike as Batgirl, with a red tank on her back, got on the passenger seat. "Wouldn't you like to fly?" he asked as she smiled. "When we're done. Besides, I wanted to ride this. You brought it." Putting on her helmet, she wrapped her arms around Naruto, who started the bike and sped down the road. "Sure you didn't just want to hold a sexy man like me?" he asked, feeling her grip harder on him as he went faster. "No," Naruto smirked while he turned down a street. Later, after talking with the penguin, they came up to an abandoned animal park with various animal-shaped hedges. "See anything, Supergirl?" Naruto asked as Supergirl looked around with X-ray vision. She suddenly jolted back. "They know we're here," she exclaimed before being hit with a bolt of electricity. Livewire took the tank from B-Girl and threw it at some trash bins. "Take Supergirl and I'll take care of the others," she said over her shoulder to Ivy before walking over to Naruto and Batgirl. She started attacking them, forcing him to go take cover behind a rock. "Can you distract her?" he asked as Batgirl glanced behind Livewire. "Yeah," she replied before running over to a trash can and picked up a little lid. Livewire shot another bolt, but nothing happened when it hit the lid. "Hey!" Livewire turned around just as Naruto fired an arrow at her that opened up into a net and wrapped around her. She tried shocking them, but nothing happened. "That's not going to work. I coated the net so you can't use your powers," he explained before seeing Ivy on top of an elephant hedge and tossed a tri-pronged K over. He flashed behind her and knocked Ked her out with a chop to the neck that it was easy, he commented, stepping down and helping Supergirl up. Later at Barbara's apartment, Kara and Barbara was sitting on the couch and robes with towels on their heads was watching the report with Bullock, so who caught Ivy, Harley and Livewire the dark hair. Ed female reporter asked him just a couple of rookies with Cage. Kara and Barbara looked on in shock. Rookies, they yelled as Naruto in black pajamas pants came in and sat down in between them. Well, maybe they have potential. Bullock finished as the girls high-fived. I'm going to get the popcorn. Barbara ca. "And you come and get the drinks?" Kara asked as Barbara got up and followed after. "So how are you and Naruto doing?" she asked as Karara puts a bag of popcorn in the microwave. "Good, but something's come up in his world." Barbara looked at her. "What?" she asked as Kara sighed. "Did you read that article about him?" Bara nodded and crossed her arms. "Yeah, it sounds pretty much like feudal Japan, the way he described how things are run there with the leaders," she replied as Kara explained. "Well, he'll have to practice polygamy." Barbara blinked for a moment. "Wait, what?" she asked his Kara sighed. "It's because he's from a clan. The LCK came up after the villages were founded so the clans wouldn't die out because they fought all the time before. So since Naruto's from a clan where there isn't very many, he'll have to take multiple women to bring it back." Barbara asked as Karara nodded and took the finished bag of popcorn out of the microwave. "How do you feel about this?" she asked again as Kara turned to her. "I'm not a fan, but after talking to Naruto and the leader of his village, I've come to accept it. Besides, he hasn't picked up random women or anything." They walked back and sat back down on the couch. After a moment, Barbara looked to them. "Guys," Kara and Naruto looked over to her. "I want to throw my hat in the rain to join in on that harem of yours." Naruto looked surprised at that. "What?" he asked as Barbara explained. "Look, I've been a little jealous of Kara ever since I met you, and you're like the perfect guy, so I want I." And Naruto was silent for a moment before speaking up. "If you're sure about this, but please take some time to think it over before rushing into things." They continued watching the movie and talking through the night. Arkham Asylum. Next night, Naruto, in his costume and holding a small plant, was walking beside a female officer with red hair in the woman's side of the asylum. "You're sure your tattoo will keep her powers off?" she asked as Naruto nodded. "Yeah, they work on the other inmates. I just need to come here once a month and apply the ink on them," he replied as they passed the female inmates. "Why don't you just make them permanent?" Naruto looked over to her and explained. "It may not look like it, but I'm not a master in certain parts of sealing, and your bodies are different from my universe, so I don't want to harm anyone too." He finished coming up to Ivy's cell with glass front. "Why, hello, Cage, coming for a visit?" Ivy walked up wearing only a shirt with the top buttons undone and panties. "Yes, Ivy, I thought I should see you and Harley off before leaving," he replied before putting the plant in the small door for food. Ivy raised an eyebrow as she picked the small plant up. "I could use this to escape," she said as Naruto smirked. "Won't work. That tattoo keeps you from doing any of that." Looking to her left shoulder, she saw the small seal from under her shirt. "I did hear you did this to the inmates with powers so they don't escape. Only problem is they're temporary and you need to come here to reapply them quite often," she explained, trying to make the plant grow but couldn't. He had talked to her for a while before going to visit Harley. A few days later, Metropolis LexCorp. Nighttime. A bald man in a black suit with a white undershirt and tie was holding a green rock over a downed Superman. "You know, I've always dreamed of this day," he said, smirking down, "and now it's here. I'm almost let down." He walked up and held the rock in front of Superman, who groaned. "Any last requests?" Superman looked up at him. "One thing, Lex. Those weapons you sold to the terrorists." Lex interrupted him as he walked to the window. "Money, T. Alk's a bride here and a bribe there, like Paul in the shipping company or Snyder in customs." Lex stopped as he heard Superman's voice behind him. "Sounds like you'll have company in prison." Turning around, he saw Superman standing up with his arms crossed, unaffected, eyes widening. Lex ran over and held the green rock up. "Impossible, the kryptonite." Lex stopped as Superman spoke up. "One work on me." Superman transformed into Jean as Lex backed up. "You're usually more careful, Lex." Turning around, Lex saw Batman and Green Lantern standing at the door. "And now you're going down," Green Lantern said, using his ring to bring the kryptonite over to Batman, who puts it in his belt. "Mission accomplished," Batman said into his microphone before running over to Lex. "End of the line, Lex," John said. His Lex pulled out a remote and pushed a button for you maybe. Suddenly a jet came up and fired at them, causing the ceiling to come Down on them, Lex jumped in and flew off with Superman following. A few moments later, Watchtower. A few days later, so is Superman still down. Naruto with his hood off asked, watching the monitor beside Kara. A little. I can't believe Lex blames him for kryptonite poisoning, she replied, going through some reports on her monitor. Yes, some people don't want to place the blame where it belongs, Naruto replied with a sigh. At first, a friend of mine wanted to destroy my entire village because of something 3 people did, he finished, remembering sass before a small beep went off. Lex and Humanite just escaped PR. Ison with Batman going after. After a few moments they heard Batman over their earpieces, I'm going to need backup. They blew up a building. Naruto put his hand up and replied, okay, I'll tell the others. He typed on the keyboard trying to pull up the traffic cameras. After telling the others, we saved the people in the building, but Lex and Ultra Humanite escaped. Naruto heard Cher's voice come over his earpiece. After a few minutes they'll show up again, he replied before standing up and walking to the hangar. Let's go down and see if we can help them find Lex and Humanite, he said over his shoulder. Pull in his hood up. Metropolis Picture Store night. A woman with a cheetah-likey appearance jumped in front of the store and went inside. As she was looking around, a person was climbing down the rafters and bending around them. The person landed, causing the woman to turn around and hiss, who are you, she asked. As the person came out of the shadows, showing the woman around 5 feet 10 with short blonde hair, yellow slitted eyes, green pants and shirt that showed off her cleavage with metal gloves, and being barefooted. I'm Copperhead, she replied, sticking her forked tongue out. Arkham Origins Copperhead 3. I'm here for a job, she finished as the other woman raised an eyebrow. Same here, am I working for you? Copperhead shook her head. No, but I guess we're working together in this, she replied, as a tall, very muscular man with gray hair and pale skin wearing old clothes walked up and grabbed the first woman. Nice kitty, the woman hissed and scratched the man. No touching. The man gained an angry look. No one hurts, Grundy, he charged at the woman, who jumped back and knocked Copperhead down. The 3 continued fighting until a man in an all-black costume, top hat and round sunglasses brought a cane up at them. Suddenly everything went dark. Who turned out? The Grundy asked, looking around. Me. Turning to their left they saw the shadows go into the man's cane. And who are you? The first woman asked as the man walked over. I'm Shade. Shade introduced himself before pointing his cane at them. My nightstick is more than not a handle the likes of you armatures. A pink beam surround his cane and brought it up to a black-haired woman in a black costume with pink gloves, thigh-high boots and mask with a gem on it. Spare us without this, you're nothing, little man, she said, floating down beside them. Common criminals, is this WH? At I'm reduced to, she asked before hearing a voice behind her. Criminals, yes, but common certainly not. Turning around they saw Lex in a purple shirt, a black holster with a gun on his left side, green gloves, pants and black boots, with a gorilla with a larger head with visible veins on it, wearing spiked suspenders, coming down an elevator. Lex Luthor, well, the plot thick, Shade said as he and the others walked up. As Lex and the gorilla came down, Lex stepped out and walked up to them. Cheetah, Copperhead, Sapphire, Shade, Grundy, Glade, you could all make it, Lex said before gesturing to the gorilla, and you all know the Ultra Humanite. Humanite nodded before speaking. Charmed, I'm sure. Copperhead spoke up, crossing her arms. Cut the crap, Luthor, what do you want, she asked as Lex explained, you all are the best of what you do and I need your services. Shay raised an eyebrow. My talents don't come cheap, Lex nodded and D continued, and you will be paid handsomely. Shade spoke up from his spot. And what's this job? Lex turned to him and smirked. To take down Superman in the Justice League Watchtower. Batman was watching the monitor as Flash, Hawkgirl and Naruto stood just behind him talking. Why put out the flames before the firefighters even stepped off the trucks? Flash finished with a smirk as Hawkgirl deadpanned. Wow, that's fast, she said, causing Flash's smirk to widen. Fastest man on the earth, he said. His Hawkgirl turned to him. Maybe that's why you can't get a date, she replied, causing Naruto to snicker. Yada, what he scared her as she smirked. Not the fastest in catching a burn, Naruto said. His Batman turned the volume up on the news. An Ultra Humanite is refusing to talk to Nagadeter's snapper car reported outside the building, showing Humanite's photo. Still think he's no trouble? Batman asked as they left to the hangar. Later the police was talking to Humanite as he held an unconscious red-haired woman. We'll give you one of our men for the woman, a police officer said as Humanite scoffed. You take me for a fool, he asked, holding a gun up. Suddenly a green beam wrapped around the gun. It's over. Humanite looking up, he Saw Green Lantern holding him right before Superman slammed into him. Batman jumped down as Naruto ran inside. Go look for more hostages, Batman said to Green Lantern, who nodded and flew in with Flash speeding in. Green Lantern flew in and up to the second floor, catching a glimpse of Superman fight Huma. Knight Naruto was looking around on the first floor and stopped as he heard a female giggle. Turning back, he didn't see anything and continued looking around before dodging a claw hand that was about to hit his face. Jumping back, he saw Copperhead walk out of the shadows. Who are you? Naruto asked as C. Copperhead smiled. The name's Copperhead. Naruto blinked for a moment before replying, I thought Copperhead was a guy. Copperhead laughed before walking up. Disappointed, she asked as Naruto deadpan, no, not really, I actually prefer you over a guy, he replied before attacking with a punch only to have Copperhead bent back on her hands. She brought her legs up and kicked Naruto back before jumping in the shadows. Naruto turned on his detective vision and looked for Copperhead only for her to grab him from behind in a chokehold. Naruto elbowed her to get out and turned and grabbed her from behind. Copperhead twisted getting out of the hold before scratching Naruto on the neck. After a moment, Naruto saw multiple Copperheads and attacked him. My poison's already in your system and you'll die soon, one of the Copperheads expressed clad as Naruto reached into his code and threw down a smoke bomb. Good, that should give me some time to get the poison out of my system, Naruto thought, panting before Copperhead suddenly jumped upstairs to Batman and Lex. Damn it, he cursed before jumping up himself and saw Copperhead scratch Batman. Naruto ran up, grabbed Copperhead and slammed her into the wall, knocking her out. Suddenly everything went black. After a moment it cleared and showed the villains gone. They got away, Naruto commented as Flash sped up. We got one of them, he said, pointing down at Copperhead. Superman turned Batman over and saw he was sweating. But they got one of us. Watchtower Gene. Naruto and Superman was in the boss. Batman was waking up. The anti-venom is working, Gene commented as Superman nodded. Welcome back. Batman looked over to them. Luthor and the others, what happened, he asked. If Superman explained, they got away. We almost got Copperhead, but she was able to get out of our cuffs when we weren't looking. We waited for the police. Batman stared at him for a moment. Then let's go, he said as he sat up, only to be pushed back down by Superman. You're not going anywhere. Batman just stared back at him before Superman walked out. After a moment Batman got up and left the med bay. I saw that coming, Naruto said. He and Jan followed after him. When they caught up to him, they saw he was watching a monitor. You should be resting, Jan said as Batman ignored him. I know it must be hard for you to feel vulnerable, Jan said as Batman continued to type. You're the only one of us that doesn't have powers. You don't need to prove yourself. You're a vow. Batman interrupted him as he stood up. I'm going. Are you going to stop me, he asked as they moved to the side. Nope, Naruto said as Batman walked past. But I'll be going with you. It'll be safer if we go together, he said, following after Batman. Lex and the others, the best of the best. What the hell was I thinking, Lex asked, pacing around. The others, we did our best, Chica said as Lex scoffed. Did you fight like your lives depended on it? Shade looked over to him and replied, you get what you paid for. Lex glared at him for a moment. You want to be rewarded for failing? I should take the lot of you in. He stopped as Grundy grabbed his neck and lifted him off the ground. Go ahead, you'll save me months of bed pants and feeding tubes, Lex grunted out before addressing the others, and make sure you all won't see a penny of my money, he finished before Grundy puts him down. Why? Oh, we're crazy, he said before the doors were kicked open. And what's wrong with that? A person asked, walking into the light, showing a man with dark green slicked back hair, dark purple suit, bow tie and gloves with a green undershirt, appearing to be wearing white makeup with red lips, black around his eyes and smiling. It's done wonders for me, he finished walking up to the others. Get the hell out of here, Joker, Lex said as Joker sped over and grabbed him. Oh Lexi, I'm hurt. How could you throw a party and not invite me, Joker said in mock hurt, putting on a party hat and brining out an air horn. It's not a party, Lex said through gritted teeth. Grundy, get rid of him. Grundy walked over only for Joker to take the horn and blow purple gas out, knocking Grundy out. Joker threw the horn away and took off the hat. Come on Lex, you need me, he said, wrapping an arm around Lex like I need a root canal. Joker removed High's arm and sat down on a box in front of them. Oh come on, I know something you don't, he said in a playful tone while flipping something in the air, catching it, and showed a chip in the shape of a bat with a blinking light. I know how the bat thinks, he finished as the other's eyes widened at the chip. Late That night Batman and Naruto came down through the window and followed the tracker. As they came up to a balcony they saw everyone except for Copperhead down below playing poker. As they're waiting for the right moment to strike, two people came up behind them, one holding a bag, the other a pipe. They both hit Batman and Naruto on the head, knocking them down onto the table and breaking it. Hearing something clatter, the others looked up and saw Copperhead dropping a pipe and Joker emptying the bag full of rocks. Laughing later, Naruto slowly woke up to see himself in Batman under a force field and ins Ida metal restraints with his hands at his sides. Guess they know I need to use both of my hands for my jutsus, Naruto thought before he saw Lex and the others with Joker walking up to Batman. Joker started slapping him. Wakey wakey, Batman opening his eyes. Batman glared at Joker. Joker, I should have known you would be involved in this, he said as Joker blinked. Really, I must be falling into a rut. He walked up to Luther and talked for a bit. After Joker left, Lex walked up to the heroes. Where do you keep your pass key? Guess, Batman replied with a smirk. Lex looked over to Naruto, who just stared at him. Do NT look at me, I keep mine in a pocket dimension, Lex growled before leaving. Grundy Humanite watched them. Lex ordered as he Copperhead holding Naruto's bow quiver and a scroll, Sapphire who took Batman's belt, and the others left in an elevator upstairs with Lex and the others. They put Batman's belt on a table as Copperhead was messing with Naruto's bow. It has a strong draw, she commented as she had some difficulty pulling the string back. She reached over, picked up an arrow with a cylinder end and shot at one of the boxes. A little electricity came over the boxes. It hid before dying down. Hearing a small explosion, she looked over and saw smoke coming off Batman's belt. Whoa, easy there, Lex. Just because you won't live to see old age doesn't mean we don't, Sapphire said before they heard fighting down below. I should have known, Lex said with a frown before walking over to the elevator. When they got to the basement they saw Grundy and Humanite fighting. Stop it, both of you, Lex yelled as Grundy and Humanite stopped and stood up. You both are going to kill me faster than the kryptonite. Grundy and Humanite walked to the elevator as Lex walked up to the two heroes. You did this, didn't you? The two just sta yet quiet. Cheetah watched them. Cheetah walked up as Lex left with the others, and if they can't shut up, gag them, he finished before Naruto spoke up. I'm not into that, you know. Cheetah stared at them as the others left. As Lex got off the elevator he grabbed his chest in pain, having Humanite grab him. YBE, we should get our money now, Shade whispered to the others. Lex recovered and walked up to them. I'm fine now, leave, I've got work to do. The others left as Humanite brought a chair up. They right, you should take it easy, he said as Lex grunted in pain. Is there anything you can do, Lex asked as Humanite thought for a moment. Maybe, but it would cost extra, he finished as Lex sighed. Basement, you know, Batman, Naruto said after talking to Cheetah about her research and experiment on herself. This is like that time when Catwoman was turned into a cat person. For Cheetah looked up quickly as Naruto continued. Talk, I'm sure it was different than this, but don't you still have your notes to help? Cheetah walked up to them. You can turn me back, I won't be a freak. Naruto looked over to her. You're not a freak, you're a beautiful woman willing to do anything to help find a cure for one of mankind's worst illness. She looked to him and crossed her arms. You seem to know a lot about me, she said as Naruto smirked. Well, I was curious. Cheetah walked up to him and puts a hand on his cheek. You know what they saw about curiosity, she said, trailing his jawline. Would you do me a favor before I die, he asked as she nodded. I would like a kiss. Smiling, Cheetah wrapped her arms around Naruto, leaned up and kissed him. After a moment Naruto leaned back. Thank he was cut off as Cheetah kissed him again with a little more force. After a minute she pulled back, pulling his bottom lip with her. She stepped back, hearing AD and hum. Anite walked out of the elevator. She walked back to the elevator, leaving Humanite to watch them. After a while Joker came in, pushing a TV in live and in color for the end of the Justice League, he said as Batman and Naruto just stared. Don't make me laugh, Joker, Batman said as Naruto snorted. Yet better me. And then you have tried. Joker ignored him and pulled out a remote. It's no joke. He turned on the TV and it showed the watchtower. There's a surprise hidden in your little clubhouse, and when your friends find it, boom. Naruto and Batman's eyes widened as Joker picked up some popcorn and held it up in front Of them popcorn, he asked as they stayed quiet. No more for me, he said, turning back to the TV as Humanite stood up and left. You sicken me, Joker. Ah, he's going to miss the show and the sequel. Batman looked him. What sequel? Joker turned back to him. Once the bomb gets your friends, I get you, he replied. Log Hing with Superman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Hawk Girl, and Flash. Any word from Jean? Wonder Woman asked. His Superman shook his head. Not since he raised the alarm, he replied. Before Hawk Girl spoke up, I have a bad feeling about this. Green Lantern walked up to the jet. Then let's go. They got in the jet and flew up to the watchtower. Flash walked out and saw Jean unconscious on the floor. Jean, he dashed over as the others flew up. Superman picked him up. I'll take him to the med bay. You find Batman and Cage. Everyone went to find them as Superman flew to the med ball. Later, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Flash re-watching Jean's Green Lantern and Hawk Girl flew in. They're not here. HW Girl said. His Green Lantern walked over and the shuttle's gone. Suddenly they heard ringing. Maybe that's them, Wonder Woman said, picking up the headset on the wall. Hello, I beg your pardon, where? Hello, Superman spoke up as Wonder Woman puts the headset down. What they say? He asked as Wonder Woman turned to him. That wasn't them, it was someone saying there's a bomb up here, she replied as everyone's eyes widened. Could it be a joke? Flash asked as Superman shook his head. No, that's a secure line. Green Lantern flow loaded up. What are we waiting for? Let's go. They searched the tower until Green Lantern found the bomb in a yellow suitcase. He yelled as Flash dashed over and grabbed it. Got it. Running over to the door, Superman opened it as Flash threw the case out the door, having it exploded. Away from the tower they went back to the med bay where Jean explained what happened. It was Grundy, Shade, and Star Sapphire. When I got to the hangar, everything went black. The others looked up. How could they have gotten inside? Wonder Woman asked. His Green Lantern spoke up. Only one way, with Cage's or Batman's transmitter with Naruto and Batman. Oh, they ruined the punchline, Joker said. Seeing the tower still floating, he pushed the TV over, breaking it. But there's still the encore. Joker pulled out a blade and walked up to Batman. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Naruto said as Joker puts the blade up to Batman's mask and leaned in. NLY for Batman to head, but Joker told you, Naruto said with a chuckle as Joker got up only to be grabbed by Grundy. Luther said you should not be alone with Batman, Grundy said as Joker looked up at him. Oh come on, Grundy old pal, what are some scrapes between friends? Grundy just stared at him. Leave joke. Walked over to the elevator. Party pooper. Grundy walked up to Naruto and Batman. Thanks. If you hadn't come along, could I have some water? Batman asked as Grundy nodded and walked over, got some water and gave Batman a sip. Batman looked up and spits the water on the generator, destroying it. Thanks, Batman said with a smirk as Naruto shimmered for a second up with the others. Humanite was messing with a couple of machines as Lex laid on the table. Humanite pushed a button and the table glowed green before lifting him up a few inches. A green metal breastplate was lowered down onto him and the back was shed up onto him. Humanite pulled a lever and Lex was shocked. Lex screamed for a minute until Humanite hit the off button. Did it work? Cheetah asked as a green light came on the breastplate. This should stabilize his condition. We'll have to wait a few minutes to find out, Humanite explained as Grundy and in Mr. Luther, Batman broke that static thingy. Humanite sighed before taking off his lab coat. They probably already alerted the Mar. They'll be here any minute. Don't worry, I have a plan. Looking over, they saw Lex standing up. But we'll need to weed out the traitor. Copperhead raised an eyebrow. Traitor, she asked as Lex nodded. Yes, how else would the heroes know about the bomb? He explained, his Copperhead deadpan. The Martian could have told them we were up there and found the bomb. Lex, ignoring her, turned on the TV showing Batman and Naruto still tied up and brought an earlier footage of Ta kissing Naruto. They looked to her as she waved her arms. No, I didn't, it's not me. She backed up into Grundy. Grundy, take care of her, Lex ordered as Grundy tried grabbing her, only for Cheetah to kick him, jump over him, and ran to the elevator. When it opened, Joker walked out and shocked her. Hello, Kit. Why? She fell down as he walked past. Grundy walked over, picked her up and dragged her out. As he walked out the elevator, he felt dizzy for a second but shook his head and continued walking outside. Naruto with Cheetah walked out of the shadows and stared at the bag Grundy was holding. What happened, Cheetah asked Naruto, who turned to her. I used an illusion. Say he thinks that bag is you. He